here's Brody Brazil.
Full disclosure, I was out of town for the last week or so, and this is just always how it works, right? When I'm away from the home studio, things happen that I would normally instantly make videos about. I didn't get that chance, so now I'm playing a little bit of catch up here as it relates to the Rays and my reactions to four main recent developments really within the last few days alone. And yes, that for sale sign is a huge part of this. That's where we'll start. It's not a sold sign yet. I mean, we can almost kind of throw that stamp on it, like when a home actually gets sold, or maybe it's pending. Maybe that's the real description here we could use for the Rays. The sale is pending. It's not necessarily still for sale. The sale is pending, but I don't feel like it's sold yet. And that, in fact, is the report from The Athletic a few days ago, that this team is likely to be officially sold, like everything taken care of, paperwork, handshakes, all that, by September of 2025. Here's what The Athletic says. The sale of the Tampa Bay Rays from current owner Stu Sternberg to a group led by Jacksonville developer Patrick Zalupski for about $1.7 billion has been agreed to in principle and is expected to be completed as soon as September. A person briefed on the process who was not authorized to speak publicly told The Athletic on Monday. By the way, all of this bottom part here, it always makes me wonder, where did this actually come from and who is giving out this information? Is it actually the Rays side of things, but they don't want to have their name attached to it? Is it the Zalupski side of it, but they don't want to have their name attached to it? Who is the leak, and why couldn't you come out and say, well, this is actually happening? What's the real secret on this? But I think all of this gives a general idea and indication of where we're at in the process. We're beyond the whole exclusive negotiating period and negotiating window. We're now in maybe the final steps. It's still not done. So let me give you two sets of reactions to just this alone. The sale by September. You know, it had been about a month, mid-June, since that letter of intent to sell the team news came out. And it just kind of got a little bit quiet, maybe too quiet for too long. It made you wonder, well, how long is this window to purchase the team exclusively? Is it 3 days? Is it a week? Is it the rest of the month? Is it the rest of this baseball season? Now that there's been an additional step, and there's no mistake on this timing, it came out basically during the All-Star break. That's usually a comfortable time to let out news like this. So it all does make sense. Had it gone longer, like more weeks or more months, and we hadn't heard much more about this potential of selling the team in the window, then it would have got a bit curious. I feel like now this was a timely update. It was necessary. So that kind of makes me think that whoever the source was, it's really from the inside of this process. The $1.7 billion valuation, it's very similar to what the Orioles sold for in the beginning of 2024. I think it was March of 24. They sold for $1.725 billion. Now, their assets are different. They also do not own Oriole Park at Camden Yards, but they do have some television interests and assets. So it's a different, like apples and oranges type situation, but $1.7 billion for a Major League Baseball team, I suppose, is the going rate. So no questions about that. There were likely complications. There still likely are complications with this sale. Even if both sides said, hey, I want to sell and I want to buy and it's a done deal, it's not really a done deal. There are complications with Tropicana Field, with current Steinbrenner Field, with the lease that needs to get figured out, with the future stadium and home that needs to get figured out. So of all the messy parts of this, right, like buying this Rays team here and now, when it's like a car in the shop. You normally wouldn't buy the car while it's in the shop. You'd wait for the repairs to be done and see that everything's taken care of and it drives normally. You'd love to test drive the car. Well, if you're the Zalupski group, you're not getting the chance to do that. You're buying this car while it's in the shop. I will say this, September is just about the cleanest cut you can do. I don't really feel like you want to sell the team in the middle of the season. Like before and after are fine, but there's just something about selling and having a transaction of a team in the middle of a season while they're trying to make the playoffs and on and on. It just seems weird. So September, specifically late September, feels like the cleanest cut possible. Of all the messy stuff, it makes sense. Like if the timeline really does work out to September, and if it really is going to happen maybe in the offseason, all of that then makes sense. I would like to also kind of close out the initial takeaways by saying you would think that all of this is pretty wrapped up. Like it's pretty certain. We know who the intended buyer is. We know the sale price. We know the timeline now. We know so many things. I would still say, for as much as this seems certain, we still know that anything can always happen. Like with the Rays especially, with a lot of volatile teams especially, anything can happen. So I am reserving the right to say it's not done till it's done. It seems done. It feels done. But we've been down this road before where you can't believe it until it's actually done. Now let's get to some deeper takeaways on this potential sale by September. What was the tipping point of this sale? I mean, I go back and wonder, well, Stu Sternberg was kind of cornered between not getting anything done in St. Petersburg and maybe having some pressure by Major League Baseball of a timeline and having Tropicana Field with the roof ripped off. So there were a lot of rocks and hard spaces that Sternberg maybe couldn't navigate himself out of. Was it as simple as that? Did he get tired of this process? Does he look at, I think, buying the team for $200 million and selling it for $1.7 billion, like making $1.5 billion? Was that the allure of it? What exactly was the thing that ultimately pushed this through? And why is it different in a situation like the former Oakland A's? Their owner, John Fisher, certainly went the opposite route, was very stubborn against any kind of consideration of selling the team. Here's Stu Sternberg with, a couple tries and stadium chances under his belt. None of them worked out. And now he's here at this point. Why are those two paths different? It's just something interesting to think about. At best, I still think this will take another few years to get a ballpark project planned, and whether it's the Ybor Harbor site, which we are going to talk about in a second, or somewhere else, this isn't just going to happen instantly. So it kind of makes me think that the Rays right now, I think they have 3 more years under their lease at Tropicana Field. It kind of makes me feel like there might be a 5-year situation. And for all it costs to repair that stadium, like $50, $60 million in total, maybe that's the best case scenario. Like, don't rush something here. If the Rays can ultimately get to Tampa and ultimately get to Ybor Harbor, and there's those 35 acres or so that was going to be a soccer stadium, that's great. You can use that site in Tampa. Do it right. Take whatever time you need. Tropicana Field, if in fact it's going to be fixed and ready by next season, we don't know that yet either for sure, but it does feel like Tropicana Field is going to get substantial use out of it still if this sale happens, if they go back, they wait in St. Petersburg, then they figure out what's next. But it also seems like Tampa, like the city of Tampa, has the upper hand here on the preference of fans, the preference of the new Rays ownership, maybe even the preference of Major League Baseball in terms of being the next home of the Rays. And that's what we'll get to next year. This is the third development. The future in Tampa. Zalupski, this is the second development. Zalupski is expected to keep the team in Tampa, the Tampa Bay area, with a strong preference to be in Tampa rather than St. Petersburg, the source said to The Athletic. Well, here's another source, somebody on the inside who's spilling all the beans but not revealing themselves. Zalupski's group could not immediately be reached for comment. The Rays declined to comment. Look, nobody's going to want to talk about what's next. They don't even have the sale in the bag yet, right? So this would be premature to start talking about this. It's nice to know that there are indications of strong preferences. At least that gives some clarity, and it can kind of give the public and politicians the idea of what exactly is likely to happen next. My takeaways on this part, the going to Tampa part, the Zalupski group, I definitely don't think they want to get too far ahead of themselves before owning the team. That would be a bad situation all the way around. It might also hurt them in leverage with the city of Tampa, Hillsborough County, in trying to get something done. And what about that Tampa site? Or what Tampa site would we even be talking about here? I know there's been discussions of near Raymond James Stadium and other places. The Gasworks is kind of crossed off the list. It seems like that development is too far along. But how about the Ybor Harbor site? More on that in just a second. But what I will say in closing this out is if the idea of the new ownership is to stay in the Tampa Bay area and go to the city of Tampa, then if you're Tripp Miller, who is a stockbroker, I want to say, from Nashville, he was an interested party in buying this team, or if you're the Orlando Dreamers, like you are pretty much sidelined from anything Rays related right now. And the Rays are a huge roadblock, I believe, to Orlando. As much as I thought this is Orlando's chance if they wanted baseball, it had to be the Rays. If they're not going to get it, then I don't see how they're necessarily going to get their instant chance. A new Rays owner is going to come in and say, well, wait, I don't want to buy this team in Tampa when Major League Baseball would ever think about expanding to Orlando. That protection, in my opinion, is likely to be built in. Like no owner is going to spend $1.7 billion on a team and then baseball is going to drop another team 90 miles away from them. I just don't see that happening, especially right now given the circumstances. So, the Dreamers and Tripp Miller, have to be considered sidelined to some degree. Now, I'll talk more about the Dreamers in a different video because their push, it still continues. So we'll discuss that and address that in a different time. The Ybor Harbor site, more on that here from the Tampa Bay Times. Developer Daryl Shaw said a Tampa Bay Rays stadium could still go on land that he owns in Ybor City and that has already been reserved for women's soccer stadium, according to Hillsborough County Commissioner Ken Hagan. So Daryl Shaw didn't say this to the paper. Apparently, Hillsborough County Commissioner Ken Hagan is repeating what Daryl Shaw said to the Tampa Bay Times. To be clear, the property's availability plus the redevelopment potential makes Shaw's Ybor Harbor site, quote, a leader in the clubhouse of potential stadium sites, Hagan told the Tampa Bay Times this past Wednesday. Here's the Ybor Harbor site. This has been discussed several times over. It was kind of crossed off the list about a month and a half ago when Shaw, the developer, said, you know what, we're moving forward, a women's soccer stadium going right here, seats about 15,000, and so it kind of left no place for any potential Rays ballpark. I mean, this was off the map, and the gasworks site just north of the highway there is already spoken for, so it seemed like all of this Ybor area was not going to be a thing. Well, now it's back in the mix. The gasworks was the latest consideration, but if I'm being honest, like Ybor Harbor always seemed like the best idea, the best circumstance. Who doesn't want to be on the waterfront? This is more of a condensed development. Everything would be more of a ballpark village feel like everybody's aiming for here in 2025. The harbor always seemed best, even though the gasworks might have been the safest and the easiest consideration of a site. The timing on this could not have been closer or better. Like I said, they were moving forward with the soccer stadium. We've seen renderings of that soccer stadium. Now, it potentially will not exist, and a home for the Rays will. If you're Daryl Shaw, obviously. The idea of putting a 30-something thousand seat stadium there, utilizing more space, having it filled. Now, you can say, is this women's soccer versus Major League Baseball? Maybe to some degree it is, and the financial implications of it. But let me also explain this. Major League Baseball is going to have that stadium filled 81 dates at least per year. For a soccer team, you'd need 3 soccer teams to come in there and play that many games over a short span. So it's going to produce a lot more revenue from a developer standpoint. It is that simple. It's a 33-acre site, plenty big enough for 30,000 seats of a stadium there that you might put. And this might be the easiest path to staying in Tampa, to not jump around between stadium sites. If you are buying the Rays, and if you're the Zalupski group, just come out and say, we're already working with Daryl Shaw. This is our site. This is what we're going to make happen. Don't go back into the bingo wheel, right? Of trying to roll those ping pong balls around. Don't do that again and pull one out and say, this is our site. Don't do that. Be clear, be straightforward, have one site, move on it, already start working on it so that there's no more confusion. And the last development here regarding the Rays are the 2025 Major League Baseball playoffs. This has been a question. Would the Rays, if they make the playoffs, if they advance in the playoffs, would they play these games in a minor league stadium? Remember, we've got the A's and Rays both playing in minor league ballparks. Certainly does not look like the A's are anywhere near a playoff contention, but the Rays have a winning record. They've struggled right before the break, but we have to at least have this discussion right here, right now. Rob Manfred said this about the situation, quote, our rule has always been that people play in their home stadiums during the World Series, and I'm not of a mind to change that rule. Why did I pause there? And I'm not of a mind to change that rule. So teams always play their home games in the home stadiums in the World Series. I understand it's a unique situation. It's different, but that's where they're playing. That's where they're going to play their games. Right? So if the Rays go to the World Series, you will see it at a 10,000-seat minor league stadium, home of the spring training New York Yankees, spring training. Here are my initial takeaways to this. By saying World Series as he did, like if there's a World Series, we're playing it there, it also includes all the rounds before it. So it's very clear that if the Rays make the playoffs, wild card situation, ALDS, ALCS, whatever, everything the Rays do in a postseason would be played at George Steinbrenner Field. It's a pretty strong declaration right there. He covered it all by not saying every round or this or that and contingencies. He said, if they're in a World Series, they're going to play it in their home stadium. It makes it very clear. This has to be what the Rays pushed for. This has to be what the Rays wanted as an organization in terms of don't mess with our schedule, our logistics. Our players live here. Don't make us fly to Atlanta to play these games. Don't make us fly to Miami to play these games. Let us just be here. It's not great, and it's not going to make a lot of money if, in fact, there are multiple playoff games and gates like ticket sales. But this has to be what the Rays pushed for. Opening the door on this, to Manfred's point, if he allowed the Rays to do this here and now, well, what happens in the future, I don't know, 20 years down the road, when a team says, wait a second, we can play our home games in the stadium, the football stadium that seats 80,000 and make that our home field advantage? It would just seem totally unfair. I agree. Having some kind of standard here and kind of sleeping in the bed that you made, it's unfortunate for the Rays, but that's their situation. So opening this door, it's a slippery slope. I'm glad baseball's not doing it. And by the way, the Rays lost 9 of their last 12 entering the All-Star break. They have 28 home games and 37 road games remaining on the season. It's a road-heavy schedule from here on out. Maybe that's good for them. Maybe that's bad for them. It's inevitable for them because they've got to get away from hurricane season down in Tampa when that starts happening here end of July, August, and September. So the point is, I don't even know if the Rays are going to make the playoffs. For a while there, they were on a heater, and it seemed almost inevitable. But whether they do or don't, we at least have clarity on that entire situation. So I think that wraps up everything. I'll try and put timestamps below to segment. This is a long video. Segment all the different topics here, but I just wanted to respond to all of that. Some major developments. It does seem like at the end of this baseball season, we might have a new owner of the Rays. They may have laid out their new plans for the Rays, where they're going to play. Maybe there's an agreement with the Shaw Group. Maybe Ybor City is where they'll land. Like, maybe finally, after years, there's going to be some clarity surrounding the Rays. But again, I'll reserve the right to know that until it's actually all happening. It's going down that road. It just all hasn't happened yet. Thanks for watching to the end. Put your comments down below. Really appreciate that. Thumbs up down on the video here below. Helps me to video the channel. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I'd love to see you back here next time.